It is impossible to work with a budget as a student. How true is that statement? Well, if you're coming across this video, it means that it is time to manage your finances properly. In this video, I'll be sharing with you a detailed blueprint when it comes to budgeting, and this has helped me for 4 years being a student. All you have to do is copy, paste, and edit when necessary. I advise you get a book and a pen, because trust me, you will love to jot this down. Hi, my name is Winifred, and welcome to my channel. Before we get into this video, I would love to leave a disclaimer. If you already have the mindset that budgeting cannot work for you, budgeting does not work, please, I would advise you just click off this video, because I promise I will just be wasting your time. For those of you still watching, let's get this done. At the end of this video, I'll be giving you a bonus tip on how you can actually stick to a budget after everything is written down. Okay, I need to put this out there. I am not a financial advisor. This is just something that has worked for me and something I've been using over the time, and I've noticed tremendous improvements when it comes to managing my finances. So this might not work for you, or you might have a contrary opinion to this. That's fine. The first thing you need to understand is budgeting is just breaking down your expenses into bits so you can cut costs and spend wisely. It's basically having a foresight in your finances. If you are a beginner when it comes to budgeting, I advise the first thing you do is to write down your expenses. Trust me, you'll be so surprised on how much you spend on your wants rather than your needs. I'm very sure this is not the first time you're hearing the word needs and wants. Your needs are basically things you cannot do without in a month or a week, while your wants are basically pleasurable things that you can actually go months without. Before we go further, I want to make a quick shout out to Mrs. Ko Asaze, because she actually taught I and my elder sister on how to budget properly from my freshman year, and this has actually helped me in managing my finances. You can go check out her YouTube channel. She's also a YouTuber, and I'm sure you'll see something you like. So the first yardstick is tithes. It's so sad how people actually pounce on others when tithe is being mentioned. Well, I'm not going to talk about this in this video, if you believe it or not, but one thing I can say for sure is that apart from the spiritual attachment when it comes to tithing, which is an honor to God, that's 1/10 of your finances, I would say that tithing actually creates that discipline when it comes to finances, because if you can actually take out a 1/10 of your finances as a tithe to God every time it comes, it just inculcates that discipline when it comes to finances. You'll be able to save and do some other things. The next yardstick is savings. There's this wrong mindset that people have about savings. Savings is not just to have money in your account. Savings is actually to invest. You do not save to have money, you save to invest. Personally, when it comes to savings, I take out 20% of my income, or sometimes 15%, depending on how much things I need to achieve in a month. So no matter how little you earn, it is always important to have savings. It could be as little as 100 naira, 200 naira, $1, $5, whatever it is. The next yardstick is emergency funds. I cannot begin to emphasize on how it is important to have an emergency fund. Most of the time, why people find it hard to budget is because they feel that, oh, something just came up, so I had to take from this. The main point of budgeting is so that you will be able to foresee things ahead before it happens. So having an emergency fund actually prevents things like that. It could be 10% that goes into emergency funds, or 20%, depending on what you want for that month. But most of the time, 15% of my income goes into emergency funds. Let me make this clear. Emergency funds is a fund you separate from your other cash. The emergency funds, like the name, is just for emergency. Okay, so the next point is personal care. So when it comes to personal care, most of the time I love to take 10% out of my finances for my personal care. Personal care could include, maybe in a month you want to go out to a fancy restaurant to eat, or you want to get something you've always been admiring in the store. It's just something to pamper yourself. That's personal care. I take out 10%, sometimes 15%, just for my personal care. The next point is transport. Most of the time we need to actually sit down and calculate how much we spend on transport every month. If you have a car, you know that you're only spending on buying fuel. If you don't have a car and you are a student and you know you actually spend money on public transport daily, then you have to break it down how much you spend from one distance to another. It could be from your hostel to your class, or if you have an apartment of your own, you calculate how much you spend from your apartment to your class, or from one department to another. And it's very important to note that when it comes to budgeting, you budget higher and not the exact amount. So let's say, for instance, you spend 200 naira on transport daily. So if you're spending 200 naira per day on transportation, for a week you're actually spending 1,400, and for a month you're spending 5,600. So instead of budgeting 5,600 exact, you budget higher, so you can actually put 6,000 naira or 6,500 just in case something comes up. The next yardstick is toiletries. This is very important. Toiletries include your deodorant, perfume, toilet disinfectant, tissue, menstrual pad, whatever it is. These are basic things you need sometimes once a month or once in 3 months. So most times my toiletries can last me for 2 months or 2.5 months. You notice when you start budgeting for toiletries, the amount reduces from 1 month to another. The next yardstick is giving. Giving can be divided into 3: charity, borrowing, and lending. Charity means giving to people that do not have as you have, or giving to the less privileged. And it's very important to actually give to the less privileged, because givers receive. Borrowing, this is almost inevitable every month. There's always a time when someone actually needs our help, and it's fine to actually borrow, but you also have to put it down in your budget. Meaning that if you budgeted 1,000 naira, 5,000 naira, $1,000, $5,000 to borrow a person for a month, once that particular amount of money you've budgeted for borrowing has been exhausted, you can't borrow again, because you have to know when to press the brake before you actually hit a car. The next one is lending. The difference between borrowing and lending is that when you borrow someone an amount of money, you are actually expecting the person to pay you back. But when it comes to lending is something that happens in our daily activities, and sometimes it is inevitable. Let's say, for instance, you're going to a lecture theater with your friends, and the transport driver does not have change, and apparently you're the only one with change, and then you find yourself paying for your friends because you have change. That would have taken out of your budget. But because you already have a budget, you are actually on a safer hand, because you budgeted an amount of money just for lending in case of situations like this. Because most of the time, if we are honest with ourselves, our friends don't pay back when it comes to things like this. If you've come this far, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel, and comment below if this is actually helpful. The next point is bank charges. If we want to be honest with ourselves, bank actually take a certain amount from the money we keep in the account, and the earlier we start budgeting this amount, the better for us. Sometimes we see ourselves going to places like a POS stand. That is where you can actually withdraw money, and then these people take a certain amount for their charges. If you start budgeting this amount they take earlier, it will help you to reduce the amount of time you go to the POS stand. The next point is actually optional, and that is offering. For example, you go to church 2 times in a week, and in each service you give 100 naira as offering, meaning that in a week you're spending 200 naira as offering. In a month, all summed up together, you are spending 800 naira. So, you know, like we said earlier, budget higher, so you can actually budget 1,000 naira as offering, which makes it easier for you to honor God with a certain amount consistently as your offering. Because we don't budget properly, we just give out any change that we find in our pockets, which is wrong. The next point is feeding. Feeding is very important. Even as students, you need to separate a certain percentage of your money as feeding. For me, most times I separate 30% out of my allowance for my feeding. And even most of the times we find ourselves buying snacks, maybe when you get to the department, just because you did not cook. So what works for me, in order to save a lot of money, I buy food stuff and cook and take to class. If you're the type that eats out, you can actually budget how much you spend per day on feeding and work with it. And the next point is data. When it comes to data, personally, I do not like to subscribe to the monthly plan, because let's be honest with ourselves, it doesn't last. Most of the time I prefer the daily plan, which allows me to actually manage my data. I put off all the notifications from every single app on my phone, meaning that it is only when I come on the app that I see the messages. I do not get any notification at all on my phone. Why I don't buy a monthly plan in bulk is that most of the time when I see that I have so much data, I find myself spending more time on the internet because I feel there's so much I can do more. When I see that I just have little with me, it will restrict the amount of time I actually spend on social media. This is something that's worked for me. It might not work for you, but this is just my personal opinion. We are gradually coming to the end of this video, and here is the bonus tip. Before we move further, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and comment below if this has been helpful to you so far. Now here is the bonus tip. How can you actually stick to a budget? What has helped me is that I separate my funds in different accounts, meaning that I separate my savings from my emergency funds from the rest of my funds in different accounts. And there are so many savings apps you could download on your phone that could help you keep some of these amounts separately from each other. You can actually make your research and look for what fits your needs. One thing I started doing in my 100 level, that's my freshman year, which had a lot of disadvantage, was I withdraw every single amount from my account and separate them into different envelopes. For some of you that when you see cash in your hand, you're always so eager to spend, this might not work for you. It worked in a sense that it reduced the amount of my bank charges, meaning that the amount it gets to take or the amount I spend on transfer. But at the end of the day, there are some people you actually need to transfer money to, and then you have to look for someone to transfer to you, and then you transfer to the person. So that was like a little bit of the disadvantage I faced. But in terms of data, because I know that I do not have money in my account and I only had money at hand, I have to go downstairs wherever I am to buy data. That stress on its own allowed me to really think about how I will spend my data. When you just see that you have money in your account and you can just buy data at ease, it allows you to just spend money anyhow. I want you to take this with you. If you receive money on a daily, monthly, or weekly basis, you can still have a budget and stick with it. And it's also important to budget what you have at hand and not what is to come, meaning that there are sometimes you can just feel like, okay, because money is coming in few days time, you feel like you can spend what you have and the money will come. Most times you can get disappointed, so it's better to just be safe and actually budget and stick to what you have. Don't budget on what is coming, budget on what you have at hand. So that is all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you really enjoyed this video, please don't forget to subscribe, give this video a big thumbs up, and if you have anything you feel like I omitted, you can put it down in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this is very useful to you. Bye.